Okay, Bellator 295 this Saturday night from Hawaii. In the main event for the Grand Prix finale at 135 pounds, we've got Ralphie Stots taking on Patchy Mix. In the co-main event, Almeida Macfarlane returns against Watanabe. You got 13 fights on this card here from Honolulu, Hawaii this Saturday night. And folks, if you haven't yet, though, make sure that subscribe button down below for some more MMA here on the channel. Yesterday, we posted our Bellator 295 predictions with Liz Carmouche and Deanna Bennett in the main event for the Flyweight Championship. And then on Sunday, we posted our full card predictions with Sergey Pavlovich and Curtis Blades in the main event for the UFC as well. So go check out those two videos. The links are down in the description down below. So the first four fights, starting things off with Alexei versus Masayuki. Going to be taking Alexei by second round TKO. He's taking on a guy making his debut in Bellator. He's 8-2 over in Pancrase. And of course, for Alexei, winning his first fight in Bellator back in 2021, but came back, lost in Shlemenko FC. Got knocked down the second round by Renato Gomes by a spinning back fist. But his first fight in Bellator was a huge win, winning by ground and pound knockout or TKO in the first round. The guy is 13-5. Professionally, solid stand-up game, can get it done on the ground as well. He's taking on a guy who's honestly kind of unproven over in Pancrase. Lost to a guy 21-10. His last win's against a guy who he lost to in his first fight in Pancrase, or his second loss in Pancrase. I mean, I don't know much about both these fighters, but I think Alexei is going to win this fight by second round TKO. Next up in the first four, we've got Alara Joan taking on Bruna Ellen. Going to take Alara to win this fight. I got her by decision. 11-6 professionally, fighting with the Pitbull brothers, training with the Pitbull brothers over in Fortaleza, Brazil. Back-to-back wins for her, and probably her biggest win to date in her last fight, beating Denise Kaiholtz by split decision. Before that, beating Alejandra Lara by unanimous decision as well. Got two back-to-back losses, though, to the likes of Watanabe, who we're going to see in the co-main event, and Vanessa Porto after that by split decision, and then beat Beck Rawlings in her first fight in Bellator back in 2019. I think Joanne's just better. I think she's able to drag this fight down. Bruna Ellen doesn't have a bad ground game either, but she has been on the wrong end of a couple of decisions. Her last fight, losing to Alima Macfarlane by decision, beat Yanez before that by split decision, but then losing to Juliana Velasquez, Christina Williams. I think Alara Joan's able to do enough. I think she's able to win by unanimous decision. Next up, we've got Davian Franklin taking on the German fighter here in Kasim Aras here. For Aras, he is a wrestler coming in from Germany. A lot of wins by submission. He's going to try to bring you down. He's going to try to ground up. He's going to try to take you to the ground. He's going to try to wear you out down there. But Davian Franklin's a guy, 5-1, did lose his last fight to a primary jiu-jitsu player in Marcelo Golm, where he got submitted in the third round, late in the third round. But for Franklin before that, picked up 4 straight wins on Bellator. The last one being, 5 straight wins in Bellator. The last one being inside Soma, who we're going to see in the co-main event we talked about yesterday. He's going to be fighting Tim Johnson in the co-main event at Bellator 294. But, you know, Soma's a guy who did lose to Davian Franklin by split decision. Franklin's got big power on the feet. I think he's able to weather the storm in terms of wrestling and knock out Kasim Aras in the first round. Then our final fight out of the first four, the toughest one to pick out these four, we got Bobby King taking on Alon Cruz. I've got ever so slightly Alon Cruz to get this fight finished in the second round by TKO. Cruz is a guy who fought in the UFC a while ago. Went 0-2 over there after winning on the Contender Series. He came into the UFC, lost to Spike Carlisle his first fight, then lost to Uros Medic in his second fight, both by finish in the first round. But since those two fights in the UFC, he's come back. He beat Matt Mooney in his first fight in Fury UFC, then bounced back and beat Charles Cheeks in Fury UFC as well. Now Alon Cruz gets Bobby King. Bobby King's a guy who's been in Bellator for a while, 3-2, coming off a loss in his last fight at Bellator 283 to Gadzi Rabadanov. Beat Keone Diggs before that. Has a loss to, now in the Grand Prix, of course, Alexander Chablis, who just beat Tufik Musayev in San Jose, but Chablis beat Bobby King by decision. I think it's a very close fight, but I do like Alon Cruz is striking a lot more than Bobby King. I think Cruz is able to go in there. I think he's able to put a pace on Bobby King, and I think the power discrepancy is going to be big in this one. I think Alon Cruz is able to go out there and wear on him, and eventually in the second round beat him by TKO. So that does it for the first four. Next up, we've got Weber Almeida taking on Keone Diggs. Diggs is a slight favorite in this fight at -140. Almeida coming back at you at +120. I'm going to take Weber Almeida to win this fight, though, by decision. You see what Almeida's been able to do recently, of course, dropping that fight to Johnny Soto back in 2021 by decision. But other than that, it has been pretty good results out of Weber Almeida. For Keone Diggs, losing 2 out of his last 3, now did come back in his last fight and beat Ricardo Sixias by unanimous decision. It was on a post limb. I believe it was in, was that in? No, it was in Long Beach. But before that, for Diggs, dropping back-to-back fights, the likes of Daniel Weichel and Bobby King, they try to kind of accelerate Diggs after winning a couple fights in a row. He went over in Final Fight Championship, beat Brian Nero, then beat Scotty Howe after that in Bellator, then beat Derek Campos, and you're thinking, okay, they're going to give him the veteran and Daniel Weichel in a fight fight that Keone Diggs is a favorite in, but Weichel comes in there and wins it by split decision. You got Weber Almeida as opponent here. I think Almeida is able to win this fight because I think Almeida is able to keep this fight on the feet. Of course, Diggs is going to try to want to wrestle Almeida and try to bring him down, but Almeida is the better striker, I do think, in this one. You see that he's able to break down Fabricio Franco back in 2022. We haven't seen Almeida yet in 2023. It's been only 6 months, though. His last win was close and was concerning. It was barely getting the win over Ryan Lilly by split decision back in Bellator 286, but I think Almeida is able to do enough on the feet. I think his power is going to be, decent in this one. I think Almeida is, again, able to keep this fight standing, and I think his striking game is better than Diggs, so give me Weber Almeida to win this fight by unanimous decision. Next up, Sumiko Inaba taking on Vera Arteaga. It's going to be Sumiko Inaba's toughest fight to date. Of course, she's 5-0 coming off her last win where she beat a fighter who was 2-5 by unanimous decision. It was her first fight that went the distance in Bellator, and they've given Inaba a lot of, fighters who aren't on her level, obviously. She's ranked number 9, I do believe, in the Bellator flyweight rankings, but Inaba is now finally getting one of these Bellator fighters who actually fight in Bellator, because for Arteaga, she's 6-4 coming off back-to-back wins in her last fight, beating Vanessa Porto by guillotine choke in the second round. Her 2 losses are to Alejandra Lara and Alima Macfarlane, as, of course, recently, and then before that, she lost to Bruna Ellen back in 2017. But Arteaga is a good fighter, and this is going to be a tough step up in competition for Sumiko Inaba. The striking game Inaba's got. She's got a lot of power for being a 125-pounder. She's got really good kickboxing. Her ground game is progressing, but really it is going to be the striking game out of Inaba that is going to win her fights. And for Arteaga, of course, she's not that bad on the ground either. I think, obviously, she's a primary striker, so she's going to want to stay on the feet with Inaba as well. But I think Inaba does have more power. I would not be surprised, though, if Arteaga is able to pull off the upset. At plus 165, those are not bad odds at all, considering Inaba has not seen anybody at the level of Arteaga just yet. They've given Inaba a lot of fighters who are borderline level regional fighters, and now they really give her a true Bellator fighter in Arteaga, who isn't, the top of the weight class, don't get me wrong, but it's a fight that Inaba's got to have to progress and push on to the next level here with Bellator. I think Inaba wins. I think she'll win by decision, but I wouldn't be confident at all. I think she definitely sees some trouble in this fight. I think Arteaga is definitely going to, throw back at her on the feet, and I think it's going to be a tough fight. Ever so slightly, give me Sumiko Inaba. I don't think it's a walk in the park like all of her other fights, but I think she's able to go in there. I think she's able to win this fight by decision. She's able to touch up Arteaga on the feet, and she's able to, again, to go the full distance and win this fight by decision. Next up, Kamaka III returns home, taking on Adley Edwards in this fight. For Kamaka III, 10-5-1 overall with the record. He's a favorite in this fight against Edwards, coming off his last win over Kevin Boehm in Bellator. The man is 4-1 overall Bellator if you date back to his fights in the UFC, but 2-1 in his second stint with Bellator. Wins over John DeJesus by unanimous decision, and then TKO win over Kevin Boehm in his third fight. The loss being a split decision loss to Justin Gonzalez by split decision, but we are going to see Justin Gonzalez later in this video when he takes on Mads Burnell. But Kamaka's solid, of course, got a solid stand-up game. I mean, he's just able to do just enough in a lot of his fights. He's able to wrestle if he needs to as well. He's only 28 years old, taking on a guy here in Adley Edwards, who's 33. Second fight in Bellator, his first one being a loss to Aaron Pico in a fight that he is a plus 740 underdog. Again, Pico goes in there and finishes him in the third round. Before that, though, for Edwards, a lot of wins, 6 straight wins over outside the UFC. I think this is a tough fight for him again, though, because Kamaka is solid. Kamaka is able to do just enough with his boxing and then able to mix it up if he needs to as well. Edwards isn't bad on the ground, so I think in a fight like this, I think Kamaka is looking to keep this fight on the feet. And if Kai Kamaka is just able to do his thing striking-wise, he should be able to probably not going to finish because that's not really what Kamaka does, but I think if Kamaka is able to keep this fight standing, I think he's able to beat Adley Edwards, and if he does need to take this fight to the ground, I think he's able to have some success down there as well. Kamaka is going to be able to brawl his way towards victory in this one. I got Kai Kamaka III to win at home in Hawaii. I think he'll win this fight by unanimous decision. Yancy Medeiros is back again, the Hawaiian-born fighter. Gets another shot at Bellator after his first win back in Bellator. It's going to be 364 days to the day of his first Bellator fight where he's a huge underdog. He goes in, he beats Emmanuel Sanchez by decision. Emmanuel Sanchez not done with Bellator just yet. We'll see him in a couple months in Chicago when he fights Archie Colgan. Well, I don't think that fight's going to go too well for him, but it's fine. Yancy Medeiros is back because coming off his UFC run where he had 4 straight losses to the likes of Cowboy Cerrone, Gregor Gillespie, Leno Venata, and Damir Hadzovic, he comes into Bellator. You don't think he's going to be able to get the win over Emmanuel Sanchez, but he does it at home. He beats him by decision. He'll now get a guy in Charlie Leary coming in from the UK who is 40 years old. Medeiros is no young fighter as well, but Medeiros is 35. Charlie Leary is 40, coming off back-to-back losses to Davy Gallant and Soren Bach in his last fight. Comes back a year later, he's getting Yancy Medeiros. I think Medeiros is going to get him. I think Medeiros is actually going to be able to go out there and get a finish. You know how Yancy Medeiros fights. He is a brawler. He is willing to take one to give one. And Medeiros is going to come out there and he is going to swing big on this fight. Don't get me wrong, Charlie Leary is going to offer up something on the other side as well. Leary is not going to go down without a fight, but I think Medeiros is better in this brawling sort of fight. And I think Medeiros is able to do more damage to Charlie Leary. And I think Medeiros is still, at this point of his career, is able to take more damage than what Charlie Leary is able to do. This will be Leary's 33rd professional fight for Medeiros. This will be, I believe, what is it? It's going to be fight number 23 for Medeiros. But Medeiros has been knocked out 4 times. Leary's been knocked out 3 times. But Leary's been in a lot more wars, I think. Well, actually, Medeiros has been in some wars, too. I don't know. Disregard that point. I just think Medeiros is a better striker. I think Medeiros is younger. He's still quicker. I think he's able to get to Leary faster. Give me Yancy Medeiros to win at home. He's got the home crowd on his side as well. Medeiros is able to win this fight by 2nd round knockout. And a major step up in competition for Justin Gonzalez. He'll be taking on Mads Burnell here. Again, Gonzalez is a guy, 3-1 Bellator, the only loss being to Aaron Pico, but he's won back-to-back fights over the likes of Kamaka III and Andrew Fisher, and now they'll give him Mads Burnell. Burnell, a true top guy in Bellator, a guy who would have probably fought for the championship if he beat Adam Borg. Now, the loss to Pedro Carvalho is a little bit interesting considering we don't really think the highest of Carvalho. I mean, he lost his last fight to Jeremy Kennedy at Bellator 291 over in Dublin. Carvalho seems to just always lose fights, and I was surprised Mads Burnell dropped that fight to him, because Mads Burnell is a guy who I didn't even think deserved to be cut from the UFC. He went 1-2 over there. His loss to Vina Michel Prazeres. He beats Mike Santiago. Then he gets dropped after losing to Arnold Allen. Then he goes into Cage Warriors, wins a bunch of fights over there, becomes the Cage Warriors featherweight champion, goes into Bellator, wins his first 3 fights, the last one being over Emmanuel Sanchez, who at the time was a tough out. I don't know really where Emmanuel Sanchez is at this point in the pecking order, but Burnell gets a main event spot against Adam Borg, loses by unanimous decision. Obviously, Borg goes on to fight Patricio Pitbull for the featherweight championship afterwards. Of course, Pitbull wins, but Burnell's then turned into a fight with Pedro Carvalho. He loses the fight to Carvalho by unanimous decision. Now we get Mads Burnell versus Justin Gonzalez. Gonzalez is a guy, again, 3-1 Bellator, really solid stand-up game. Mads Burnell, though, I think will have a huge advantage on the ground, and that's where I think Burnell wins this fight, and that's why I'm picking Mads Burnell to win this fight by unanimous decision. Burnell coming in at minus 140. I think he's able to weather the storm of Justin Gonzalez, and I think for Gonzalez, I think it's a little bit too soon. I think it's a little bit, it's a huge step up in competition. Nothing against Kamaka III, but it's a huge step up going from Kamaka to Mads Burnell. Burnell is going to go in there and he's going to wear on you on the ground. Burnell is going to grapple with him. He's going to clinch with them. I think Mads Burnell is just going to make an overall tough night for Justin Gonzalez. Burnell's going to go in there. He's going to win this fight by decision. I think he's going to go out there, get his win back, not his win back against Gonzalez, but get his wins back after losing 2 in a row. Burnell gets back on the winning side of things. He'll beat Justin Gonzalez by wrestling his way to a unanimous decision victory. Aaron Pico is back, and it feels like classic Bellator matchmaking here. James Gonzalez is not a bad fighter. Don't get me wrong. This is a guy who did not get the contract with the PFL after he beat Singh Ruil in his last fight by TKO in the first round. Surprised the PFL didn't offer him, at least, because his win over Cody Law was huge. He beats an undefeated Cody Law in a fight that he's a plus 550 underdog in, and he's going to be a huge underdog again in this fight against Aaron Pico. But he goes and he beats the undefeated Cody Law by unanimous decision. He really wears on Cody Law. He works the body. Law is gassed after those 3 rounds. And now James Gonzalez, after winning on the PFL Challenger Series, is back and he'll be fighting Aaron Pico. Pico is coming off the loss to Jeremy Kennedy, where his corner does kind of save him. He gets hurt, big shoulder injury. Corner pulls him out after that first round for good reason. Jeremy Kennedy wins the fight, and since then, Jeremy Kennedy has gone in to beat Pedro Carvalho. But Pico is back in the swing of things. This, again, feels like a fight that he should win. It's good matchmaking for Aaron Pico. He should be able to go out there, and he should be able to showcase a lot of his striking in this fight. I think Pico's going to go out there. I think he's going to really look for the kill, and he should be able to go out there and knock out James Gonzalez in the first round, given I thought James Gonzalez was going to get absolutely destroyed by Cody Law. Obviously, that fight did not happen. I thought Law was going to go out there. I thought he was just going to do away with him in the first round, and obviously Gonzalez ended up winning the fight. I think this fight's a little bit different, though. Aaron Pico's a lot more proven than Cody Law. Pico's been able to go out there, and against guys like this and James Gonzalez, Pico has been able to go out there and win. The Jackson Wink product should be able to go out there and pick up the victory. Pico, again, it feels like a pretty obvious pick. I think Aaron Pico gets back on the winning track. He'll beat James Gonzalez by first round knockout. I think there's a big power discrepancy in this fight. I think Pico's a way better striker as well. Pico should be able to find his spots, and Aaron Pico should be able to beat James Gonzalez. He's going to get done by first round knockout. Next up in the co-main event, we have got Macfarlane taking on Kana Watanabe. It feels like this is sort of the end of the career of Macfarlane. She's talked about retirement before. She's talked about not liking the sport anymore. And I'm surprised she just didn't stop after her last fight, where she got to win. She beats Bruna Ellen by unanimous decision because you're thinking, okay, she loses the championship to Juliana Velasquez. She gets a fight against Justine Kish in a fight that she is a huge favorite in, and she drops the fight to Justine Kish in Hawaii. You're thinking, okay, what does she do from here? She comes back, she beats Bruna Ellen in South Dakota. You're thinking now, if win or lose, this is likely the last fight for Ilima-Lei Macfarlane. It's back in Hawaii. She's taking on Kana Watanabe, but man, this is a tough fight for Ilima-Lei Macfarlane, especially an Ilima-Lei Macfarlane who seems like she's halfway out the door here with fighting. Kana Watanabe still 11-1-1 in her professional career. Her only loss being that one fight where she got blitzed by Liz Carmouche, and Carmouche, who is now the champion, went up there and knocked out Kana Watanabe. It's a standing TKO, but only in 35 seconds. It's rare to see Liz Carmouche put on a performance like that, but that's what she did against Kana Watanabe. Since then, though, Watanabe's come back and she submitted Denise Kaya-Holtz in her last fight by triangle choke in the second round of Bellator 281. Watanabe's back against Ilima-Lei Macfarlane. I think Ilima-Lei Macfarlane is going to get grounded here throughout this entire fight. Again, if she is that 100% invested no more in the fight game, this is going to make things so much easier for Kana Watanabe. Watanabe should be able to get immediately a takedown. She should be able to grapple Ilima-Lei Macfarlane to victory here. I think Macfarlane's good enough to the point where she's going to be able to fight off submissions. I don't think she's going to get submitted just like that, but Watanabe should be able to ground her. She's going to look for submissions. I don't think she's going to be able to get the tap out of Macfarlane, but definitely Watanabe is going to be able to go out there and just get takedowns and hold Macfarlane down throughout that entire fight. Again, the big thing for me is Macfarlane not being 100% invested in the sport anymore. You know Watanabe is still chasing a world championship. The world championship is something that Ilima-Lei Macfarlane's already got, and I don't think she's 100% motivated to get back to that point. So Watanabe is going to go in there. I think it's going to be a lot of judo, and it's going to be a lot of jiu-jitsu out of Kana Watanabe after getting that top positioning. Kana Watanabe goes into Hawaii and likely ends the career of Ilima-Lei Macfarlane, beating Macfarlane by unanimous decision. In the main event, it is the finale of the Grand Prix at bantamweight for not the World Championship, though. It's for $1 million, but it's not for the World Championship. The World Championship is going to be contested between Sergio Pettis and Patricio Pitbull in Chicago in 2 months. So the winner of this fight between Ralphie and Stots and Patchy Mix will be the interim champion, but not the world champion, because they're going to have to take on the winner of Pettis and Pitbull coming up in a couple months. But we've got Patchy Mix and Ralphie and Stots. How did both men get to the spot of the finals of the Grand Prix? Well, for Ralphie and Stots, comes in, he wins the interim championship against Juan Archuleta, and it's a fight that he's probably down going into that third round. It's very close going into that third round, but a huge head kick knocks out Juan Archuleta in Hawaii. Ralphie and Stots becomes the interim champion. Now, he defends the championship late in 2022. He defeats Danny Sabatello, the Italian gangster, by split decision. It's a fight that definitely should not have been a split decision. Stots wins that fight pretty handily, I think, but he goes in there, he weathers the storm of the wrestler in Sabatello. He beats Danny Sabatello by unanimous decision. Now we get Ralphie and Stots and Patchy Mix, but how did Patchy Mix get to this spot? Well, he comes in, he beats Kyoji Horiguchi by beating Horiguchi on the ground. You know going into that fight, Horiguchi was the better striker, but Patchy Mix goes in there twice in that fight, locks up a body triangle, and does not allow Kyoji Horiguchi to go anywhere. He grounds Horiguchi, keeps him on the ground, and Patchy Mix wins that fight 49-46 by unanimous decision. Now, a second round fight, in a fight that he was an underdog in a fight that I did not think he was going to win, he goes in and he submits Magomed Magomedov. He submits him with a guillotine choke in the second round. Again, gets Magomedov to the ground, locks in a guillotine choke, puts Magomedov out, and now you get Mix versus Stots in this championship fight. This is not Mix's first fight for the championship. Got a shot back in 2020, losing to Juan Archuleta by unanimous decision for the bantamweight championship, but now, of course, he is back for another shot for the bantamweight title. It's going to be completely dependent on if Patchy Mix can get this fight down. But my pick is going to be Ralphie and Stots by decision. Because of the way Ralphie and Stots was able to weather the storm of Danny Sabatello, I think he's able to weather it a Patchy Mix as well. Now, Patchy Mix, wrestling-wise, I think, honestly, Sabatello's a little bit better. But jiu-jitsu-wise and pure grappling-wise, give me Patchy Mix. But I just don't know how Mix is able to get this fight to the ground. I think he's going to be able to shoot some takedowns, and he might be able to get Stots down a couple times, but I think Stots is able to get back up to his feet. Ralphie and Stots is a good wrestler in his own right. He just doesn't choose to wrestle all that much. The Rufus Sport product is a primary striker, and he's good at striking, and obviously that's how he won the championship, by knocking out Juan Archuleta. But I think Stots is able, again, to... His defensive wrestling game is really good. You saw that in the Danny Sabatello fight, and he's able to scramble out a lot of positions as well. So if Ralphie and Stots is able to do everything that he was able to do in the Danny Sabatello fight, the same thing's going to happen in the Patchy Mix fight. I don't think Mix is going to get him in a spot like he did to Kyoji Horiguchi, or even what he did to Magomed Magomedov. I don't think Stots is ever going to put himself in that position. So I think Stots is able to keep this fight in the feet. I think Stots is able to outbox and out-kickbox Patchy Mix to victory, and that's why I think Ralphie and Supa Stots is able to retain retain his championship and move on to the winner to create the undisputed champion between Sergio Pettis and Patricio Pitbull. I think though Rafi and Stots is able to move on, and Stots retains his championship and becomes $1 million richer by beating Patchy Mix by unanimous decision, outboxing him again towards that 5-round decision. So folks, thank y'all for watching our Bellator 295 predictions here on the channel. If you haven't yet though, make sure that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to go check out our other MMA content earlier this week with Bellator 294 and UFC Fight Night Pavlovich versus Blades. Both links again are in the description down below. Thanks again for watching, and Mamba forever. And I just completely forgot I did not do Ray Borg versus Kyoji Horiguchi. I got to the point where I was about to put this video, I was about to post it, and I just realized Borg and Horiguchi's not on this card, or not on this video. So I will do this fight very quickly. Kyoji Horiguchi is going to win this fight by unanimous decision. I don't think Ray Borg's able to wrestle him. I think Kyoji Horiguchi is able to stay on his feet in this fight. I mean, Borg, we haven't seen him since 2022 when Eagle FC was still a damn thing in America. He's won 3 straight fights since being dropped from the UFC after losing to Ricky Simone, who's now in a main event spot against Song Yadong next week. But Horiguchi's still really good. I mean, look at his fight that he's got in the Bellator versus Ryzen card, and look at his fights in Ryzen as well. He's just lost the top guys in Bellator, and Sergio Pettis and Patchy Mix. And oh, by the way, that Sergio Pettis fight was a fight that he was on his way to win before, again, Sergio Pettis hit him with that nasty spinning back fist. And then again, we talked about the Patchy Mix fight earlier. You just got grounded, and it's going to happen to you, right? But for Kyoji Horiguchi in this fight with Ray Borg, he's going to keep Borg on the feet, and he is going to punish Ray Borg stand-up wise. I think there's a chance, definitely, that I think it's a chance for Horiguchi to go out there and get the finish. I'll say the conservative pick, and I'll go decision for Horiguchi. Again, I just don't think Borg's able to wrestle him, and on the feet, Borg is going to be a little bit lost with Horiguchi. I think it's just a matter of if Horiguchi can find that one big shot or not to put Borg away. And really, other than that, I like Horiguchi to win this fight. It surprised me that Horiguchi is still only 32 years old. He's been around for a while. This is a guy who challenged Demetrius Johnson for the flyweight championship, it felt like 10 years ago. He's still fighting. He's 32 years old. He's one of Ryzen's best guys, but he's fighting on this Bellator card in Hawaii. I really like Horiguchi to go out here and pick up the victory. I got him to go out there and beat Ray Borg by decision. I don't know why I skipped this fight on my first time around, but here we are. I finally got this one in, so if you see this in the description and it's back on the card, that's why. This is not the main event, but I just forgot to put it in. So Horiguchi beats Borg by unanimous decision, using his striking and not allowing Borg to get him on the ground, not allowing Borg to really tie up with him and try to take him down at all. I think Horiguchi is going to keep this fight standing, and that's how he's going to win. So folks, again, that does it for the video. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe button down below for more. For the second time, Mamba forever.